Could you give me the war you served in and the branch of service?
World War II,
Mm-hmm.
served the Pacific, Atlantic, Normandy, southern France, Okinawa. And then we were involved in sweeping mines all over. At the invasion before and after the Normandy. And then from there we went to southern France, participated in the invasion of France. Then we went different duties, Africa, and stopped in Italy bringing troops from one place to the other and ammunition from one place to the other. Then we come home in December of '44, and we had a leave coming. Then we went out to the Pacific, through the Panama Canal. Then we stopped in Honolulu. Then from there, we went up, stopped at different Okinawa, and then participated in that invasion. And we, oh, I'm sorry.
Your rank, sir.
Oh, Baker third class.
Okay. You've basically told me where you served. Would you like to continue there? I interrupted you.
No. Where?
Mm-hmm. After Okinawa?
Oh, we're still on the same ship,
Okay.
but we went to different ports. We're doing a lot of mine sweeping in the East China Sea. And, you know, we got, a couple of times we got stuck in these typhoons, and they were rough out there.
The name of your ship?
Oh, USS Staff,
USS Staff.
minesweeper, auxiliary minesweeper.
Okay. Let's go back and start at the beginning.
Oh, in the
a little
beginning?
bit.
Okay, well,
And tell me if you were drafted or did you
no, I
enlist?
enlisted. I couldn't wait till I was done. So my father had a sign for me at the time. With everybody, that was the thing to do those days. And I chose the Navy because it went with my eyes, the uniform, you know, blue. I didn't like brown. And from there we went to boot camp up in Sampson, New York.
Okay.
And from there, went down to Norfolk, Virginia, because the ship I got on was hit by a mine in Sicily. So it was in dry dock. Then we went in there, you know, down there, and you said, what the hell am I doing here? And then from there, they took out a dry dock. We went shakedown cruise of Chesapeake Bay. And then we sailed for New York. From there, we went overseas. And it took us about 17 days because the ocean was rough to North Atlantic, and we were escorting ships out there, or barges, whatever you want to call them. Then we got our first subcontact. And, you know, we stopped depth charges, and I didn't realize that until I was looking at my log one day, not too long ago, and there was a torpedo that went 25 feet in front of our bow. And, you know, and from there we went to England, at a few different stops, Portsmouth, and, you know, so forth. And then we were sweeping before the invasion for the mines, because when they're getting ready for D-Day. And then we went with the invasion, you know, sweeping mines at the beginning, and then the invasion come that night, and holy hell broke loose.
What was a typical day like for you? Do you remember? Could you put it into...
Well, in the morning, see, when I first got on, I was an honorary seaman. We lay out the mine gear early in the morning, then you go sweeping mines. You clear it out, because this is before the invasion. You had to get everything ready. Then we anchor off at Portsmouth, or I forget the name of the other town in England. Then next morning we get up, we go, do the same thing over and over again. But the thing about that was, we was doing for moored mines, which is the mines that are moored, you know, they have the big horns on it, but actually there was magnetic mines. So that took those ships were being blown up. then there's a difference in the gear you lay. It's like a cable that goes out to the stern of the ship all the way, I forget how many feet, but sets the electrical vibration, which takes away from the engine.
Mm-hmm.
And then it blows up into the mine at the end. And then during the invasion, this ship got sunk. It was a destroyer. The Glenn was the name. So they sent us in.
Could you spell that for me?
Glennon.
Okay, thank you.
So we pulled up alongside the ship with our bows, and we were trying to pull it out. We couldn't do it. It was stuck too far in the mud. Then we took off survivors and brought them to another ship. But while we're doing that, there used to be this DDE, Destroyer Escort, that pulls up after us coming down to help. But the funny thing about it was, it's not funny, but the mines, first one mine blew it up in the middle, center ship, and then another mine blew it, and another mine. There was all these sailors on the decks. All of a sudden you didn't see nothing. You know, because we had the gear they call them rattle bar, and as we were going in, it makes a lot of noise. But then, you know, other ships don't have that. And they come in trying to help, and it was a disaster. Then another time, they had us go in there, these German short guns, they were smart, the Germans, they had them on rail cars. And we used to see the dive bombers going in to knock them out, but they couldn't get the right location. Then with the battle wagons, and I think Admiral Nimitz at the time, our ship and a couple other minesweepers went in there. So we only had a 5-inch gun, so they had us shooting at it, trying to get so we must have been like a fly, hitting and it was getting annoying, and all of a sudden they started shooting at us. And I didn't realize, but we got some of the shrapnel into the smokestack. We were lucky to get out. Then the battle wagon, they would shoot over our heads, you know, going for that, because they could able to shoot a mile out, no problem. And we got the hell out of there in a hurry. And then we got sweet mines, going to regular duties after that. And my ship was awarded from the Secretary of State, you know, for commending, that included the shipmates, you know, the ordinary seamen and things like that, that participated in it. Which I had was on a piece of paper, like the crepe paper or whatever, and it's starting to go beat up like I made copies of that. And from there we sweep the mines after the invasion for quite a while. And then we went down to southern France and the invasion of southern France.
Can you tell me some of your more memorable experiences? What stands out in your mind as the most memorable
Oh,
thing?
we went to pull up survivors off the ship, and the destroyer escort blew up.
That was a DDE?
The USS Rich was, and Glennon was a ship that was sunk.
Ridgewood? The USS at Ridgewood?
The Glennon, and the other
Glennon.
was the USS Rich. USS Rich is the one that got blown up while we were there pulling survivors off.
Okay. RICH?
I'm sorry,
How would you spell that?
Rich?
Yeah,
RICH, I'm sorry.
that's okay. Did they lose men on that?
Well, God knows, maybe half of the crew are better.
Okay.
And, you know, it's hard to say because they were all on the decks looking, you know. And then, you know, because of, you know, dangerous waters with mines, because I even have a picture of one of our ships being blown up from the mine. And quite a few ships got hit by mines and everything. And sometimes you see these bodies floating in the water, you know, because it was hell to pay. And never forget the first night we went in, you know, at night, and all of a sudden was a little plane flying over, and the merchant marine, everybody know who's to shoot at, you know, and they were shooting at them. Then you see the whole sky light up on the beach there, and you know, all the noise blowing up and everything else. And you know, it wasn't great. I was just still a baby, 17, which most of them were. And all the soldiers that got killed on the beach, you know, never knew what hit them. They were young, you know. And some of the, they used to have these boats that picked up the soldiers from the ship to bring them in, and they got lost. So you know, they didn't know where to go in, you know. So that was hell.
Did you have a specific task that you had to do on
Well, I
board
was
the
an
staff?
ordinary seaman on the ship at the time,
Okay.
and I used to go out and we used to go out to lay mines and everything, get the gear ready. So you have 4 hours on and 4 hours off.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're not doing that, you're on watch 4 hours. You know.
You have a bunch of medals. Can you tell
Well,
me?
I got 4 stars.
Can you tell me about some of your medals? How you got them?
Well, for participating in invasion, Normandy, southern France,
Mm-hmm.
and the other 2 from the Pacific was Okinawa and different duties that was doing, those sweet mines, you know what I mean, and mine infested water. Because one time we were up there, this was after they took care of Tokyo, we were sweeping the mines in the harbor. And the Japanese said there was no mines there. Well, anyway, we got stuck in a typhoon in there. So we had to put both anchors down and get there and just go full steam ahead into the, because if didn't have them on and didn't go anyplace, we'd only be beached. And if we tried to get out, we'd be hitting mines, so to blow us up. So we were there for quite a while, you know. And those typhoons out there, you know, rough in the Pacific. 1 minute is nothing, all of a sudden, boom, the whole thing. And my best thing was when we went to Shanghai, how big it was, you know, tremendous, everything. Then we got drunk and we went into one of these restaurants, they gave us coffee and treated us nice, you know.
That was American personnel or Chinese personnel at that time?
Well, who was they were all did French or whatever you know,
Okay.
French. And then my first night thing was I went into a ricochet. You know, I took a ride on that, and that was nice. That was one of the best times.
Can you think of any other memorable experiences that you had?
Well, when we were in Okinawa, we were anchored there, they did kamikazes. So, all of a sudden we got a general alarm to get out, you know. I can't think of the name, oh my God. Well, anyway, we saw the plane going down, and it goes for the big ships. They didn't want small ships like us. And, you know, and then you see a lot of these ships, they used to go for the destroyers, the kamikazes. And you see their blood, they didn't have no bow. So, you know, just from the mines, you know. And, you know, then we sweep the mines until come back about a month ahead, you know. Oh, I got to be a baker, too, before we went to the Pacific. And how I did that was, I used to go on my own time and help the baker. And, you know, do it on my own time, and I learned a little bit. So we got to Pearl Harbor, the baker broke his leg. Well, anyway, they took another baker off, but he was a good baker. And just as we moved away from the dock, he got seasick. So I was elected. I mean, my first baking, the bread's like a pancake. My first cake, it rolled up like a rug. But I got to be there, you know, I got to, and that's how I learned to be a baker, and I got to be a baker, you know.
What did you normally bake? Just
Oh,
bread?
maybe pies,
Okay.
cookies, cakes. It wasn't fancy, but you know, it turned out to be pretty good. I don't know if I got any complaints. If they did, can't do nothing about it. It's that or you don't get nothing.
And then you stayed a baker for how long?
Oh, until I got discharged, you know, from there. And, you know, that's the only way you can get to elevate yourself is to strike. Then you read the rules and regulations about what you have to know and what you have to do on the different jobs. And I used to study, you know, and you'd be baking at night, you know, and be by yourself.
Describe the kitchen for me.
And it's just, very small. You're not like these big ships, you know, very small in the mess hall. They're all crowded in. So in order for you to go to the bathroom, you had to go out on the deck. And to go out on the deck, you don't know what the weather's gonna be. So if you get a rough storm, you're going from one end to the other. So you make sure just as soon as that ship goes one, you go out. Otherwise you get knocked overboard, which we're lucky we didn't.
Okay.
But the big ships now, we happened to go one in Stanford in the harbor there with the destroyers, new ones. And we went in there and we saw the galley and everything else. Oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, and then when I went in, you didn't have to be a college graduate. They took you anyway. Now to go to the Navy, you have to be a college graduate. You know, they're smart.
When you were on board ship,
Yeah.
what were some of the high points? Did you have friends who were?
Well, yeah, you know, you stay and play poker sometime when you're off duty, you know what I mean, and things like that. And see, I don't remember a lot about that there. You know what I mean? Like you go on the beach with different guys, certain guys. I mean, and you get some guys you didn't like, you know. But we used to read funny books. Comic books that was our pastime there, and you know we were avid comic books.
Did you get mail on a regular basis?
Well, not too much. My brother would send me one, and you know they'd cut it down, you know. And
Now you mentioned a brother. How many brothers and
well, I got
what was
three
your
brothers.
3 brothers?
Yeah,
And any sisters?
no sisters.
Okay.
No.
Did they join the military?
Well, my brothers, yes. Nick, he went into the Air Force after because he was younger than me. And my elderly brother, he was only a year older than me, but he had heart trouble, so they wouldn't take him. Then my kid brother, he went in the Army. That was way after the war, you know. And
Well, you said Nick, and then your other
there
brother.
was Jim was the oldest one, and then there was Harry. He was the youngest one. And then when we were in England, you know, just as an invasion. Well, anyway, this here kid, he fell in love with this girl from England, and he wanted to marry her. So he jumped overboard. You know, we left there because he didn't want to leave his girlfriend, and they got him. But then they had somebody watching him 24 hours a day.
Did he marry the girl?
We don't know. We took off. We went to southern France from there. But I knew he wasn't crazy. They thought he was nuts. So I made out a letter to let my brother know we were in invasion in Normandy. And when he got to Jersey, he sent it to him. I mean, you know, because sometimes when my brother saw the thing in the paper about the minesweeper, and right away he knew who I was.
Okay.
know. But you know, a lot of strange things happened. And the officers, they wouldn't go on deck at night
Why?
because you know they were really very tough people. You know what I mean? Like they weren't reasoned. They were young. You know, ensigns,
Okay.
and they learned just like we did. You know. Then the guy, Yablonsky, who I talked to a couple of months ago the first time, he told me like he got on in England, and I didn't know that. I forgot. They asked for volunteers to go on the minesweeper. We just would. So they just took us and put us on there, and then my volunteer. I was surprised.
What was Jablonski's first name? Do you remember?
Michael.
Michael. Thank you. And where is he now?
He lives in Pennsylvania, you know, and I can't, I think my wife, he sent us, he called us up one night, and I can't remember where about in Pennsylvania. I know I have it home, you know, and he's a couple years older than me. In fact, everybody went on the ship was about a year or two older than me. I was the youngest one.
Did they give you a hard time?
No.
The older sailors?
Well, they used to call me, he still remembers me the name Greek, because I used to have Greek written all over my dungarees to keep somebody else from stealing them, you know. And I laughed when he told me, I said, hey, Greek, you know.
Can you think of anything others? There are a lot of things. Can you think of anything special that happened that you'd like to talk about when you were in the service before we move on to things that happened after?
Well, I don't know what you call pleasure, but when I was home on leave, I mean, when we got discharged, it was nice. The train, you know, from California,
Okay.
Toledo Beach, and which they call them cattle cars. And you know, at least you had bunks, you were able to sleep. And then we stopped in Kansas for a stop, and there was this was during the night, and a bunch of ladies had coffee, donuts, you know. And that was one of my, you know, I was really thrilled about it. And I think I saw some in the paper once about that these women, you know, at night they go over there, and it's, what do you call it, the trains that carry, you know, the troops and everything else. And, you know, it was nice. That was nice. Beautiful. That was my best time.
How about difficult moments? Anything that was really very challenging for you?
Well, I'd say difficult is going over when it took us so many days with the rough sea and everything, because you couldn't see the ship alongside you. One minute you see them, next minute you're up and you're down. Then when you hit the water power, you think everything can come apart. Then you say, what am I doing here? Oh, you know, how did I get into this? But that time of year was very rough toward March, I think it was. It was very, very rough. That was a scary time because the ship listed, you know, and, you know, it's not too big of a ship compared to all these big ones. Then we were going over, I thought I heard bugles in the ocean coming. And I said, we're way out at sea, where did these bugles come? I still never figured that out. I don't know, I was going crazy, but that's before we got into the invasion, you know?
Okay. You never could figure where those bugles were
No,
coming from?
I don't know what it was, maybe an island out there someplace, you know? But when I was in, I think it was Tijuana at the time, they changed the name, we had to leave, we had a couple hours leave. So we went into there's like a little train that goes in to the little village, which I always liked the way the houses were. No furniture, hardly anything. You go in, you take your shoes off. Then I met this girl. At the time, it was very hard for me to say her name. And her name was Ikakuya. And I always remember that.
Do you know how to spell that?
No, I know and my friend's girlfriend name was Benicio. But she used to laugh when I just used to try to say her name. And I still remember her name.
Huh.
And I only saw her for a couple hours.
And that was in
Tijuana.
Tijuana,
Yeah.
Mexico?
No, Japan.
Japan.
Taiwan, well, I'm sorry, Taiwan.
Taiwan.
And they changed the name, I believe, now. It's a different thing. But that was nice in a way. In a way, it wasn't nice. When we were ready to go back to the ship, there was a railroad station that we took a train. And I happened to be drunk at the time because when we got there, they had sake. And I said, I'm not going to drink this stuff. Then we used the bananas as chasers. Then this Japanese tried to knife me on the train station there. And I was lucky somebody was there to get him away. But that was my nice experience with the way the houses were. And I always tell my wife, this is the way you should live.
Do you make her put shoes out front?
There's no furniture, hardly anything. They were nice little things, like you see in movies, I like that, And I always said, I like the Chinese girls. Something about, I picture myself marrying a Chinese girl at the time. But then I met my wife after I got home.
Well, let's move on a little bit to that. And how did you stay in touch with your family? You mentioned your brothers wrote.
Well, my mother didn't speak American, and my father, we never really knew him or not, but I got with my brother, just write him once in a while, and he used to write me. But one thing about my father, he was a candy maker. And when I was in the Navy, he sent me this beautiful caramel roll. It was delicious, but he was good, very good candy maker. And then when I got out, still young, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Was looking for different jobs. And I finally met the love of my life at a dance studio.
Aha. When you were there, do you remember what food you ate when you were on board ship?
Well, it was, not really. Just every day, like different days of the week, it'd be different things, like macaroni, spaghetti,
Okay.
and not too much of a combination, I'd say. And then at that time they had powdered eggs, powdered milk, which they sell now and people buy it. Experimenting. You had fruits and everything in it, but not that much because, your provisions you can't get right away, And by the time you get provisions, it's not like the Navy today.
Were you short on any supplies? Did you ever
Well,
feel you were
when
short on?
you every so often you'd have a cargo ship come, and you take off cargo. The eggs sometimes you get them, and then butter and things like that. And then you had a big freezer downstairs and big refrigerator.
Any ammunition or personal supplies that you were short of?
Oh, well, the ammunition you get, like you have a cargo in your hold there. And when you time up things, you have different, like I was an ammunition handler. There was like you're in combat, right away you do is to bring them, give them, and pass them along, like they say, pass the ammunition, like in the big ships,
What caliber was the
Well,
ammunition?
they had 50 caliber, 40 caliber machine, 40 and a 5-inch gun. That's all we had, a big cannon,
Okay.
They were all small compared to, I think that's what they used to call them.
What did the pressure or stress feel like when you were in the service? Do you remember?
Scared. I scared. Especially when they start shooting at us.
Can you tell me about that?
Well, like I say, when we went in there to try to hit those big short guns with our 5 inches, so I think we got a couple at the time. Then they start shooting at us, so we got the hell out of there fast. You know, zigzagging, and there was, and then that was pretty rough, because you see the all alongside you, the water where they would hit, like I say, and it's shrapnel on the smokestack, and I didn't realize that there until after about 50 years after I got out, when I looked at the log, which I got, you know, and that was pretty scary. And even when you see all these guys, you know what I mean, when you pull them off and the ship, you know what I mean, and we were lucky there in a way, because the Germans could have fired us there, but for some reason, that didn't hit us or nothing. So we were lucky.
You were pulling men out of the water at that point?
Well, no, pulling right from the ship. No,
Oh, okay.
we went right up alongside the ship. The time when we hit it, the captain yelled over, he said, "I'm sorry, put a dent in your bow. The ship is half sunk."
Okay.
You know, and there's guys that trapped underneath that died, you know what I mean? Things like that. So I think it was about 150 that we pulled off. Then we took them to another ship, you know, which took them over, because we're not, you know, be able to handle that many on the ship, you know. And, but you couldn't do nothing with the guys on the Rich that got blown up, you know. We're lucky to a you know, big extent. Then at night you had to look out for the U-boats. It's like a sub-chaser in the Pacific, you know, because they're pretty fast.
Did you carry any good luck charm?
No, no,
No?
no, no.
Nothing special.
I don't think we're doing good.
You mentioned that you would play poker in your off times. How did the men entertain themselves when they weren't on duty?
Well, you know, in the Pacific they used to have movies.
Okay.
And, you know, you go from ship to ship to trade with them. But we had to take you're sitting in the mess hall, and that's pretty tight. You know, and see, as far as the Atlantic, over there, I don't remember seeing any movies. It was more in the Pacific.
Okay.
And I think there was a movie, Danny Kaye, it was Up in Arms. We saw it about 100 times, you know. And trade, you know, you go on a whaleboat, like I used to be the bow, because when you go on a whaleboat, you stay on the bow of the ship. This way you get the officers and they're ready to bring them to another ship, then you hook on with the bow, you know, hook onto the ship so they can go aboard. And sometimes it's rough out there when you're on that little thing. Yeah, you never know then.
Did you ever see any professional entertainers while you were in the service?
No, we never got on the beach. No, you mean like Bob Hope and them? No, they were all over, but we were never, you know, we're busy, free minds. So if you were on the beach, you know, you were stationed on the shore, then you had a better chance. But one thing was very exciting. When we went over to, we were going up to Tokyo, whatever it is, to minesweep up there, and then you see all these B-52s flying over with Doodle and all. That's when they went up there to bomb Japan, and that was a nice sight. But we were going up there whether the war was over, you know, we had minesweeping to do. And then we had to clear the shipping lanes after the war. You know, after they, maybe whenever Japan and so forth. Then we got word on the way up that Franklin Roosevelt died. You know, that was a sad thing.
How did you feel about that?
And that's, you know, I mean, I liked him. He was a nice president, you know.
Do you remember the mood on the ship?
Well, it was solid, you know, it was like, you know, when you're like, he died, you know what I mean? You're like, then Truman took over, you know. No, I always liked that president.
Do you remember when when the atomic bombs went into Hiroshima? Were you in the area at the time?
We were pretty close because I forget what, a few months after, we would stop by there and we picked up rifles. You know, Japanese rifles there.
Okay.
And we never was in the city itself, you know, we were just in the water.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just don't remember how I got the rifle, but I don't have it because I went broke and I sell it. And in a way, it's a horrible thing, but we would have been fighting forever,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Then you got all these kamikazes coming out, you know, going crazy. And one thing I wasn't thinking about until after I got out of the war, about these ships that got sunk out, you know, in the middle of the Pacific there, and
Mm-hmm.
all the sharks and everything. And I never thought about that.
Hmm.
You know, and that's another thing. I said, we're lucky, you know, to be out there and like that.
You never thought about the sharks or anything?
No,
when you were in
when I had that movie Sharks, that's when I said, oh my God, who's out there? God forbid if we got blown up by mine.
You could have worried about all sorts of things. Did you ever have leave while you were in the service?
Pardon?
Did you ever take leave?
Oh yeah, I had to leave when we come back from the England, you know, to the war there. I had a month's leave there coming, and then I spent Christmas in '45 in Shanghai, and until I got home, you know. Oh wait, I did have a leave before that. That I could either I stayed aboard or got out a month earlier. I said I'm going to go home and leave.
Okay.
So I took the train. It took me 5 days to get to home, 5 days to come back, and that was rough.
Where were you when you took the train? California?
Yeah, from Cal. Then when we got back, when I come back on the train, my ship moved. I didn't have no money. I was broke. I had a quarter on me when we got to California. And I had a choice: either buy a hot dog or a pack of cigarettes. But then I smoked. So I took the cigarettes. Then I went to the beach looking for my ship. They said it's down in San Diego. So I said, how do I get down there? I said, that's up to you. I said, I haven't got no money. Hitchhiked down. That's how I got there.
And people gave you a ride without any problem?
Well, yeah, I got a ride, which I was lucky. At that time, it was different.
Mm-hmm.
You were able to pick up, it wasn't like after the war, a couple of years later, people got, you know, robbed on, you know, picking up somebody. But I picked up a sailor maybe after I got my car for a while, you know. I picked him up and he was hitchhiking. But now you can't do that because you don't know who's who.
Can you, you're going to include some photos.
Yeah.
Do you have any photos that are particularly meaningful that you'd like to talk about
Well,
in your book?
yeah. Yeah, I have quite a bit, you know. In fact, I have these are the ships that got blown up. Well, these mean a lot to me because the way the mines got blown up. Oh,
Can you hold them up just a little bit so we can get them on camera? A little bit higher. There.
yeah, there was, when you're out there and, you know, like the water's rough and everything, then the mine blowing off up over here. And then I got some postcards from Shanghai at the time. That was different. And these are some my buddies out when these were in Shanghai. In fact, this is a picture of that guy's ski over here. And this was in Africa and so forth. But you know, old guys that try to remember certain things. And then there's one photograph, let me see if I can find it. Oh, there's the one here. This is when we come back from the Atlantic. This is down in Norfolk, Virginia, where we had a little too much to drink. And so we took a picture with it. That was one of mine. Every time I think it out loud. And, you know, plus, yeah, and this is a dog. This is a dog that we had on the ship. His name was Iran. And
Iran?
he couldn't go back to the States with us because of, you know, the animals and everything else. So we couldn't take him, nobody could take him home. So it was a mascot on the ship. In fact, this was a picture of the Hoe. They call it the Hoe in England. And my daughter had a friend that was going to England. So she took a picture of the way it's today, you know, last year, which was nice. Well, then I graduated in November 9th, 2000. Because I quit school and went into the Navy from there. That's my daughters and my wife and my son.
So let's talk about when you came back from service.
Well,
Do you remember when your service ended and what did you do after service?
I tell you, when I got out, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was still young.
Mm-hmm.
And looking around for different jobs. And I tried to get in Pitney Bowes, which was a big company, but at that time, if you knew somebody, they'd hire you right away. I had to go back every week. That didn't do no good. Then I got a job where they bottled whiskey. And I went there, and I've been there for about 35 years, you know. And I couldn't take a chance doing anything else because I had my kids and I couldn't afford to, you know, support them, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you were bottling whiskey?
Yeah, well, no, what you do there, you get the whiskey comes in, you know, from different countries,
Okay.
and you bottle it into bottles, then you put it into bottles. You know, there was a private whiskey place, not like Shenley's or anything like that. It was small. If you had a store, you wanted your name on the whiskey label, it would be on there, your store name or something like that. They did different, you know, they were pretty big, got to be pretty big.
This is in Stamford?
Yeah, that was in Stanford, right, yeah. That was an experience when I first got out to the job. I was upstairs where they bottled the whiskey and the guy said, close the tank up there. So I went up there and the fumes, ooh. Yeah, I mean, they you get a whiff of that, you know.
You're a happy man. Did you go back to school after?
No, I didn't know what I
service?
wanted to do. You know, I was all mixed up. This is going back a couple of years after that. You know, after I got out, and a couple of years later, I guess my father, he sent me down. He asked me, he wanted me to go down Delaware, Rehoboth Beach, they call it, and to work over there in like a resort. So I went down there and you know, worked in the arcade there and things like that. And you know, I felt lonely every time I hear a song. You know, the lullaby to Broadway. You know, I'd snap my fingers, being out there in the boardwalk. Then one day I said, I'm going back home. I said, then I didn't meet my wife for a couple of years after. You know.
So you never used your GI Bill?
Pardon me?
You never used the GI Bill?
No, really, no. I tell you, at that time, it was different. You know, like you get these people, you know, you had to be on the internet, you know, to know what's going on. Me, I just glad they got out, you know, and I wasn't even thinking about that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know, and it's a shame I never did, but I was only 19 and a half, and I still didn't know what I was going to do. No, the white parents, when your parents push you, you do more. At that time, my mother never, she never spoke English. She was just lived in the house all day. Never. My father used to be a candy maker. He used to work from out of town, so we didn't know him. But he wanted to go in the candy business, but I didn't want that. I don't think that was for me.
Hmm. Didn't want to use your baking skills?
I was thinking about that, but then I would have to go to school. Because actually I was homegrown when it came to making that there. I learned as I went along, like everybody does in the Navy. And no, I don't think I wanted to do that. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And to this day, I still don't know what I want to do. But the only thing I thank God is I got my wife who we got our own house. And
What did you finally end up doing as a career afterwards?
anywhere.
What did you finally end up doing as a job?
Career? Oh,
Mhm,
job.
Career.
Just a whiskey place.
Okay.
That's it, then I went to work, when they closed up, I went to work in the bank for a while in the coin room. Then it wasn't like, we weren't making no money then,
Mm-hmm.
just barely, but I took it as a job to have money coming in. Then I went in the post office, but I thought that would be forever, but it was only a temporary thing. And then from there, I was out of work again. I looked for a job. And I got a job in the warehouse. I worked there for years. Then they went out of business. Then I had to do different odd jobs, work at different jobs,
Mm-hmm.
That's why I retired early. I'm not coming, no pensions like they do.
Did you belong to any veterans organizations?
No, I never. When I got out, I never got into that.
Okay.
I never even marched, went in parades or anything like that. And my family, I used to take them down to see the parades, but it didn't dawn on me. I mean, never thought about doing anything like that.
Hmm.
Now sometimes they say, why don't you come in? But I don't think I belonged to them things. I felt like, I don't know what it was. Like they're into it. Me, I wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should have. I don't know. But
Tell me about the interviews from the newspaper.
for a job,
No, when they found out you were a veteran in the newspaper, people wanted to interview you.
at the interview
Mm-hmm.
at Norwalk here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he wanted, like you doing it. Where'd you go? You know what I mean? And they did a big article on that. And I was, I said, you want me to interview you? I'm not one of these guys that were, really medals and things like that. I'm just an ordinary guy, one out of millions, you know what I mean? And I just felt flattered in a way, and I felt embarrassed in another. In fact, my daughter has the interview. It has everything on that. But, everybody, I got a lot of people that called me after. They said, oh, I liked your interview, I guess they found it comical in a way.
And we're going to include this in your
If you want
memorabilia.
to.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
you want to
please.
hold that up a second? Just so we can
Sure.
see it?
My lovely picture.
Yeah. And so that will be included in your video. Have you ever attended any reunions?
No,
No?
we never did. We never. There was nobody around where I lived, and I didn't know the addresses of anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
In fact, only one I sent a card every year. His name was Bill Carson. He's from Pennsylvania. And every year, sent a Christmas card, and he sent me one. But that's about the only contact I ever had.
Now, how did you know Bill?
Oh, we were in the Navy together. In fact, on the way over, we got in a fight. I don't know why, why or what it was or anything like that. This was in a ship with a rough with water. And got to be best friends. I don't know how. I don't remember, And I don't remember that part. We got in a fight. For what? I mean, I don't know.
And you're still in touch with him today?
Yeah, still touched by, just by the cards though, you know, in fact, write a few notes, you remember this guy. In fact, he's the one asked me if I remember Yablonsky. I said, yeah, ski. Then out of a clear blue sky, I get that call. He says, this is Mike Yablonsky calling. Oh, I said, oh my God. And then we had a few laughs, a couple laughs together. Then I sent him an email, and he sent me one. Then he gave me another call, you know, and I called him. He said, yeah, we got to get together. But I can't stay out at night or anything like that. The ride's too long. He said, someday maybe we can meet halfway. And he told me how his grandson's getting married in someplace in Jersey in the summer. He said, yeah, we'll talk about it. Maybe we can meet half someday. That would be nice.
That would
You
be.
know, oh yeah,
That would be
I'd
special.
be thrilled with that.
Let me ask you a question before we get to the end. How do you think your military experience changed your life or affected your life?
Well, in a way, it made me more grown up, you know, and only the last few years I've been talking about, you know, certain things that I never did before, you know, and I don't know what you would say that didn't change my life at all.
Why do you think that?
Because I didn't know what to do before that. And I still didn't know, you know. Unless, if I got a break when I wasn't applying for this job in Pitney Bowes, maybe it would have been a different life for me. But I knew a lot of people there, but I didn't know. Because every time, years later, they'd say, gee, you should have mentioned my name. I wasn't going there and tell me, I want to go my own merit. Give me a chance. You don't like me? Get rid of me. That never happened. And I'm always mad about that. Then there's another job, the guy said, were you nervous? And I said, yeah, I was nervous. He didn't hire me because of that. They probably think you're nuts. Anybody that wasn't scared is a lot of baloney.
Hmm.
You know? But anyway, turned out good. Got married, had 4 children, 3 granddaughters. Wonderful family. A wife that's a nurse, babysitter to me and everything else.
That works well. Is there anything else you would like to add? We're virtually at the end of the interview that we haven't covered in this interview.
No, I think we pretty